If you are driven by fear, anger, or pride, nature will force you to compete. If you are guided by courage, awareness, tranquility, and peace, nature will serve you. Amit Ray, from Nonviolence, the Transforming Power. Hi there. I'm Jessica Disbrow, licensed social worker and founder of Higher Consciousness Healing, an innovative mental health practice in Lakewood, Colorado. Please stay tuned for the end of the episode. I'm going to be making a really important announcement about Higher Consciousness Healing and where I'm going with my career next. So definitely stay tuned for that. Right now you're watching our live video blog that we air every Saturday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, where we talk about different mental health topics from a spiritual and scientific perspective. So welcome to the show. Thank you all for tuning in this morning. Just a reminder, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to ask them during the show because of the lag time on Facebook Live. It's not super live, so definitely just shut those out and I'll get to them as best I can. All right. Well, the last couple weeks we've been talking about a lot of different unconscious ego defenses. Really sorting those out. I hope you all have a better understanding of some of those as we move into today's episode, which I'm going to be talking about 5 common ego traps. Now, let's define ego. I'm defining it as the self you think you are, and a lot of people think they're the thoughts inside their head, which is just not true. That's really just brain activity and some pre-programming. And who we really are is something greater than that. We're really a soul in a human suit. So, what is a trap? It's kind of self-explanatory, but I'm going to define it in the context for today's show. An ego trap is a fear-based thought pattern that we get stuck in. So it's our ego mind trying to stay busy. It's that brain activity that is probably not really serving us most of the time. It takes its form in obsessing, compulsive thinking, where we really believe that the voice inside our head is us, but it's just kind of like running amok in there. And yeah, it's just not helpful. And the reason why it's not helpful is because it's preventing us from really being present with the people and things outside of us and around us. Because that's where the good stuff is. It's in the present moment. It's not in your head. So the more we can embody this idea and that life is happening now, right now, it's not in your head in the past or the present, the more we can really live fully and have a really happy life. So let's get to it. The 5 common ego traps. Number 1, fear or excitement about the future. A lot of times fear is a form of anxiety when we're talking about the future, right? And even if it's excitement, you have to realize that we're not living in the future, right? Our life is happening now. And if we get kind of stuck in these ideas, good or bad of the future, like these are just kind of like delusions because they're not happening now. They might not ever happen. They probably won't ever happen. And, if you're really excited about something that's going to be happening in the future and like you want to like really think about it and plan and view it from all these different angles, like write it down. I'm going to be talking about solutions for all of these, and that's one of my solutions for this first one is if there is something going on that you're super excited about, like let's say you have a wedding coming up, right? But like doing all of that obsessing is not helping you when life is happening outside of you. So write that stuff down. Like that's cool, plan it out, think about it from all the angles, but don't get caught in your head and allow it to prevent you from really living in the moment. So it's about building that self-awareness and deciding if it's a fear, if it's rational, if it's irrational, and how to really deal with that. Because let's face it, there's so many things to be afraid about, and it's like we think that we'll have control over it if we like think about it and worry about it, and it's just not the case. It's a false sense of control. So, not helpful. And we all do it. Like, so don't worry about that. Like, this is just super common stuff that everybody does. So, deep breath. Moving on to number 2. Thinking about the past, positively or negatively. And again, like, our existence is happening now. It's not happening in the future. It's not happening in the past. And so if you're finding yourself thinking a lot about the past, positive or negative, if it's positive, it might be because you're comparing it to now and you're using it as a way to prove to yourself that now isn't as good as it used to be. And that's just a judgment, really, because now has a lot of different lessons and a lot of different layers, and it might not look like you want it to look, but it's happening for a reason. We have to kind of take faith. And if we're spending a lot of time thinking about negative things, perhaps there's a lesson in there that we haven't quite learned yet. So the solution, again, I think writing is really, really helpful. So write it down, find a way to let it go. Maybe if it's something like traumatic that's happened, seek out a therapist or someone else who can help support you through that journey, instead of letting it just come and ruminate and affect your daily life, because it's just not helpful. So it's all good. Don't use the past to beat up on yourself. That's another one. That's just not helpful. And the more we can build awareness to these things and let them go, the more peace of mind we'll really have. That's what it's all about. Number 3, super, super common. I just don't know anyone who's ever not experienced this. I call it the not enough syndrome. I'm not enough. You're not enough. I don't have enough. Fill in the blank. Money, time, friends, whatever it is. Everyone feels like they don't have enough something. It's just, I think, in our nature, honestly. So it's about remembering that you are enough and everything you have is enough. And this goes back to the spiritual stuff, knowing that you're enough and that you have everything you need, because God and the universe is really looking out for you and is actually really caring for you. It might just not look like you want it to look. So it's about understanding that while the universe and God has our back, you have you. And that's really, really important and really, really powerful, because God and the universe is not enabling. It knows that you can handle stuff. It knows that whatever challenge you're facing, it's giving it to you because you can actually overcome it and really triumph. So it's okay. We all feel like we're not enough sometimes, or a lot of the time. And so it's about kind of reprogramming ourselves into really knowing and understanding that we really are enough, we have enough, and, especially if we have just our basic needs met. I mean, and here in America, that's most people. That's huge. That's really, really huge. And when we do this internal work and we start reprogramming ourselves to believe that we really have enough, we actually find ourselves getting more and more just naturally, because what we send out, we get back. So that's really important. Number 4, fear of making decisions. Going round and round and round in your head, thinking and obsessing about something that you don't actually need to decide right now. Yeah, It happens. We think we have to make all these decisions for the future and like plan everything out, and that's actually not really going to serve us that well. You know, again, if there's something that you actually need to plan or need to decide, that's great, but it's about recognizing when you're kind of getting caught in a loop and you're thinking, and a lot of the times you're just repeating those same thoughts that you thought yesterday and the day before and the day before, and it's really just taking you away from the present moment and what is right now. The now. Super important. So, kind of something that goes along with that is we sometimes feel like we need to make a decision, and that decision's going to have to stick for the rest of our lives. Like, let's say I'm making some sort of decision about my diet, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to cut out this thing, fill in the blank. And I don't know if I should really cut it out. Maybe it'll be bad for me. Maybe it'll be good for me. Whatever. I don't know. It's like, dude, like, just chill. Like, you don't have to decide for the rest of your life. Like, you can decide again later and make the adjustments that you need to make. So it's kind of part of the ego trip. The ego trap is, you know, those fear of making decisions, and we get caught up in that. So the solution is asking yourself, do I need to decide right now? Really? Because a lot of times we'll have more information as time goes by, and we'll be able to make a better decision later on. Or we'll be able to really let go of this mental chatter, get really in touch with ourselves and our inner guidance, and just like know what the decision is that needs to be made in that moment. And it will be fine. So, you know, let it go. If you need to, write it out. If you need to, talk to a friend. Like, use these things. It's really great. Number 5, the ultimate ego trap. Negative thinking. Yeah. It's always easier to be negative, critical, complain, being realistic, because your past has informed your present, and you're like, well, that didn't work out for me then, so it's not going to work out for me now. It's a trap. It's a trap. And we want to believe it so much, and we want to justify why we believe these negative things. And I know, because I was there for over a decade, really. And it really didn't serve me at all. All it did was hurt my mind, my body, and my soul with all of this negativity. You know, we think we're being like realistic, and what we're doing is we're limiting ourselves from those positive things that could be coming into our lives, but we're too busy with our head in the sand, being like, nope, that's not going to happen. Nope, ah. You know, so it's not helpful. And the solution is really building self-awareness around that negativity, really reprogramming yourself and finding the things that do feel realistic for you around being positive. Because I'm not saying like lie to yourself and create a false reality of goodness when that's not what's happening on the outside. Like, if your life isn't that good and there's negative things going on, look at that, deal with that, embrace it. Move around it. Do whatever you need to do to get yourself in a better situation so you don't have to complain about how miserable your life is. We all have a choice. So I empower all of you to make that choice and to start living in the light instead of in the darkness. All right. That wraps up our show today. Next week, we're going to be talking about intentional living and how we can embody some of these practices in our daily life. So if you have any questions, please comment. Now would be the time. I'm going to make an important announcement about higher consciousness healing and myself and my career path. So I'll be happy to answer those questions at the end after the announcement. I hope that you all will be as excited as I am. I'm going to be moving forward in my career. I've been really loving these video blogs. I feel you all are getting a lot out of them. I've been loving my work with the millennials, but I'm finding that they need more of a mentor than a therapist. And that's really kind of been a hang up for the business that I've had, my private practice, and the work that I really feel called to do. Because if you've noticed, this channel is pretty spiritual. I'm a pretty spiritual person, and I really want to bring these different messages to the millennials so they can learn and grow. And I feel like we just get so much out of sharing our experience with others. And as a therapist, that's really limited. And so I'm finding that the mental health world it's a little confining, and I want to grow and move forward. So I'm going to be closing my private practice probably in about the next month, and I'm going to be moving on to a new business as a spiritual mentor for millennials. I'm really excited about all of that. I have a lot of mentoring experience. I even ran a mentoring program as my last job in New York City as a social worker. So this is all really coming together. So as a spiritual mentor, I'll be supporting millennials to embody their spirit and their spiritual path in an everyday way. Doing that with individual sessions and in groups. I'm really excited because this allows me to open up my market to be global, which was just not possible under the guise of mental health. I needed to stay very local, and this really allows me to be able to offer my services to anyone who wants them all over the world. So that's really exciting because I feel that I'm here to serve a certain population and really do a certain kind of work. So I'm really embracing that for myself, and I hope it inspires you all, if you're thinking about making a shift like that, to do the same. So I believe that the millennials are really here to change the world and change the world for the better. So the more we can embody our spirit and become spiritually aligned in a conscious way, the more we can each do the work we need to do to help make ourselves better, our communities better, and the world, because that's what we really need right now. So thank you so much for joining me on my journey. If you've been following my Facebook page and my YouTube channel, not to worry. What I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be rebranding all of that into the new business, so I won't lose any of the people who have been liking and appreciating my message. And if this changes your ideas of who I am and what I'm doing, and you're no longer interested in all of this, that's totally fine. You can feel free to unfollow me, unlike me. I want people to go with what resonates with them the most, and I don't take those things personally. So definitely do what you need to do for you. The video blog is going to be taking a new form, basically. I'm going to be moving on from this video blog and doing a more millennial video blog. I know people have been telling me is your blog meant for millennials? I'm not really sure. It seems like it. So I'm just going to be really niching harder and doing a different version of this show, one that's definitely more geared towards my audience and that's a little bit more spiritual. And I mean, the mental health stuff is just, we're calling it mental health, really it's psychology. It's just really basic psychology. So that's obviously going to follow me because I'm still me doing what I do. So if you're interested, awesome. If not, that's okay too. I hope you've all been enjoying these shows, and yeah, if you're interested in my services as a spiritual mentor, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. Send me a Facebook message through my business page and we will connect. Awesome. Well, I hope you all have a lovely weekend. I look forward to finishing our last show next week under Higher Consciousness Healing. And it's been great. Thank you all so much, and take care.